Italy, it's completely assumed that you can do everything.
Yeah.
Okay, it's okay, my love.
What are you hiding?
Yeah.
You're
Well,
so cheerful.
no, I know. I think once he can actually understand the words we're saying, then, oh gosh, it's
Then you're screwed.
Yeah, and then it's a whole new thing.
Let's do another child and see what happens.
Yeah. Eccoci, here we are. You might be wondering why I didn't publish last week. That's because I almost died from sleep deprivation. It was one of the hardest weeks. And I thought, why don't we do a little recap? I don't know if we can do this because we're very tired, but it's appropriate because we're talking about being parents. We're celebrating to have made it past the 6-month mark. Gianfranco's now 6.5 months old. I have here the father of Gianfranco. Ciao! How do
Testimone oculare.
Exactly. You'll have to talk, my love, because I am a little bit low on energy today.
I don't know what to say.
Well, let's begin with...
What time did you wake up?
The question is, did I ever go to sleep? Let's try and get some order into this episode. Let's start with a question.
Okay, what's the question?
Is parenting what you expected?
No.
I would say yes. You go first. Why no?
I didn't have an expectation. But I thought it wouldn't be so beautiful in certain aspects and not so difficult on others. So it's definitely a completely life-changing experience.
Yeah.
So it's amazing when he's doing ba 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 ba. He will eventually say mama babbo very soon.
Yeah.
And then only the idea is so exciting and so wonderful and everything, but then it's also tremendously exhausting, and then you start worrying, and so it's much more extreme on both sides.
Yeah.
Extreme.
When Guido says babbo, he means because in Tuscany, the word for papa, for father, is babbo.
Yeah, but Father Christmas is called Babbo Natale.
He's defending it as we like, all of Italy should be babbo.
Yeah. Everybody in Italy say Babbo Natale. So
Yeah,
it means
exactly.
that
Father Christmas,
it's accepted
Hai ragione.
as the true word.
The true
word is
the true father.
It's papa, because it comes from the Latin pater.
Bravissimo. Well,
Cheers,
in any case, at this point, it seems much more likely that he's going to say babbo first, because all he says is ba 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 ba.
One day he will say, oh.
Yeah, that's it. This is what this means. For me, I would say it's what I expected. I think that's why I put off sort of getting married for so long, because I really wanted it. I really wanted to feel settled within myself and with my partner, because I really saw what a wonderful mother what wonderful parents my parents were, and I thought, this looks beautiful, but a lot of work, and I really want to be present for it and mature and just not in a state of as much calm as I can, as one can be. One of the most beautiful moments so far. For me, it's often been breastfeeding, as much as it's been a really exhausting experience, but it's been so intimate and just, I think I've said this before, so forgive me if I'm boring you, but just that sensation that you are nourishing something, you're keeping it alive with your body, and they just cling onto you, and he looks up at me and he's like, don't let me die. It's beautiful. It's, yeah. And Oh,
I have a great moment when he pooed after 3 weeks.
yeah. that was
A great moment.
That was a great movie. Actually, yeah, he only.
We were worried that we had to take him to the hospital and open him up. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
So
it was tight.
that was a great relief.
And in fact, when he was that severely constipated, the only thing that would work is having a bath with me, and then he would poo in the bath, and I would call Guido, Guido!
Yay!
Sono nella merda! I'm surrounded by poo. So yeah, and to your credit, you would always rush up, and Guido would be grabbing it all with his hands, which is
Yeah, but these things sound very, let's say, gross eventually. But then when it's your son and you get used to it, and actually you're praying for poo to arrive, it's like, oh yeah, poo.
Yeah, exactly. I remember you beforehand, before we had Gianfranco, you saying you weren't sure about all the smelly nappies and everything, and yet since he's been here, I haven't heard you complain once about it. In fact, you're always excited, if one can even say, to change his nappy and be like, yes, we've had success. No,
it means that everything is working. So
yeah, and I think as you said though as well, when it's your own child, it doesn't disgust you as much as it might objectively looking at someone else's child, as you might have looking at the.
I don't know. It's like I never changed a nappy before in my life because I don't have. I never had the opportunity to change another nappy. So
you were just waiting all your life, all through your 20s, waiting for the opportunity. But
what would it be to change a nappy?
Yeah.
And now we're very efficient.
Actually, do you know what I know? One of my favorite moments is when it's the morning and maybe he's slept an hour, like maybe it's like between 7 and 8, and I haven't slept, but I'm just watching him sleep, and I'm snoozing, and and I'm not trying to get him to stop crying, and you don't have to rush off anywhere to work, and we just lie there for an hour and play with him and laugh, and he's and he's laughing, yeah, exactly, and we're in bed, and that's lovely, no? Anyway, it's lovely for me. It's
and he's so smiley and happy.
Yeah, he's so happy in the morning. He's so smiley, and he just. We take him into the village here nearby, and all the women and the men, actually, everyone is just, oh my goodness, it's so beautiful, Christopher. I mean, I think all babies attract a lot of attention, but he tends to attract a lot of attention. People just come up and they say, people in the supermarket, can I touch him? Can I squeeze his little cheeks?
No, you can't.
Yeah, but there's so many women, they just ask to hold him. They're just like, oh, he's an angel. He's like a little angel. Another time which for me is really special is when the three of us can have a bath together. I can't wait to use the new bathroom to do that, and it just feels very natural. I mean, you're there in a bath, and it's also very romantic. You're sort of there with the person that you created this child with, and there's something about being in the bath. It's not that you're naked. It's that you don't have any other distractions. You don't have phones, computers, you don't have clothing, you're not eating, you're just really present and looking each other in the eye and focusing just on this child in between the two of you who's playing in water. And it feels to me just so sacred and special. Your lowest moment in the past 6 months?
When the sleep deprivation in all it's
But can you recall like one particular moment?
No, because we are both so tired that you can't spot out probably. But yeah, it's very difficult if you're planning to do something the day after and then you can't sleep, and then, or you don't sleep, and then I don't know, it becomes very. That's the worst moment. I don't know, nothing.
For me,
bad properly happened. So thank God.
Yeah. Yeah, but has there been a moment where you've thought, I can't deal with this, or I can't go on?
At night when you don't sleep and you
Yeah,
have to,
yeah,
that,
yeah.
that's, you don't say, oh, I can't go on, but I say, oh my God, how I will go on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I can't imagine you, because I sleep more than you, because you're breastfeeding and things. So
Yeah.
I always knew that women have superpowers. So
And a lot of people are saying, why don't you get Guido to feed him during the night? And there are two reasons for that. One, exclusively breastfeeding, and breastfeeding every 2 hours, day and night. And so there's not really time to pump. By the time it's not like there's some downtime. If he's happens to be sleeping for 45 minutes, I'm doing something else, or I'm trying to nap alongside him. So there's
the
not
first reason is he's very hungry. There's no extra milk to pump.
Yeah, but even when there was, I mean, there was some time, but it's Guido is a wonderful husband, but you have many great qualities, and you're just different from me in terms of you need more sleep than me, and I think everyone is different. I mean, I spoke to a friend and she said they've got a similar age child, and she said that she's the one who needs more sleep than her husband is more of a night owl and can keep going on very little sleep. And so I was like, gosh, that would be a disaster. But that's just how it is. And I would prefer for you to be in a lovely mood through the day, for us not to have tension or whatever. Yeah, it has been really hard. My lowest moment, I think, has been the 2 or 3 times that I've been sick. And I've just woken up, or just it's sunrise has hit and I'm still awake, and I've been just burst into tears because I don't know how to be sick and look after a baby and breastfeed at the same time. It's so hard, and
not sleep.
and not sleep. Fortunately, I haven't seemed to have suffered from postnatal depression, but I can see how many women would just go down that slippery slope, because once you start not sleeping for 30 consecutive days, and now it's been over 6 months that I haven't, not one night I've had
Slept properly.
Yeah. So and I just remember just crying and thinking, I can't. And then also, if I'm to be truly honest, I think I should be honest, yeah? Do you think?
I thought you were honest.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, I think that the hardest, like, we've had such a hard experience with the problems that he had, the digestive problems that he had, and even the doctors have said, yeah, this is not normal. Like, crying for 5 hours straight during the day is not normal. But on the other hand, we're pretty lucky, because every time I just feel absolutely depleted and I can go outside and there's sunshine and there's nature and I can go for a walk, and that certainly I
Fresh
think
air.
Yeah, and
then he just smiles and
he's so sweet. To be honest, I think the things that have been hardest for me is if we fight. Like, if we fight, I feel completely like I just want to crumble, because I'm hanging on by a thread. And then if things are tense between us, that for me is, they're my lowest times.
I think when you have an altercation or you don't see eye to eye with your partner and you have a newborn baby, it can be anything from disconcerting to terrifying, because with the screaming baby, you know that their pain or their discomfort is going to pass. You know that they're going to mature, that they're going to one day be able to articulate their needs so you can help them better. But with a partner, they're fully grown and you consciously got yourself into this partnership. And so the fear, be it irrational or not, is, am I stuck with this situation? Is this partner never going to change, or are we never going to be able to get past this?
obviously that's tearing apart the castle that's keeping everything together. And so
Yeah, or the the hut.
Sticking da denti.
Yeah. No, I think because if you fight with your partner, when a baby,
We had some fights. Not actually, I can't remember the reason. Yeah, I might, but whatever. The later ones were, I think, just due to exhaustion or stress or whatever. And I feel that if we went through those moments, we are stronger together. Obviously, one has to be able to then reconcile. Otherwise, you will just keep tension. I hope you don't. I don't have any tension. But if you manage to have the earthquake and then settle back in the new way, with the new whatever.
Yeah. Well, I think
that makes you stronger.
I think you'd be crazy not to have arguments, because you're in such a new landscape. You know, you're navigating this whole new terrain of how do we discipline a child, and what do we believe about health, and
How do you resolve conflict when you've got a screaming baby?
obviously we can fight in front of a child, but they say that the best thing is to show that you're resolving how you resolve conflict. Otherwise, they'll always be afraid of, oh my gosh, if anyone shouts, I have to run and hide or repress what I'm feeling. No, so
yeah, the trick is learning how to mend things, not being afraid of breaking them.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's important for the male to, or the partner. Yes, tell me.
First of all,
Yeah.
For a man, it's obvious that you see your wife building up a big tummy and everything, but sort of nothing changes from point of view of hormones or whatever. The process of becoming a father starts later compared to a woman that is becoming a mother all through the pregnancy.
Sure.
And that was a matter of tension between us, because I wasn't a good pre-father about all the pregnancy things and everything. But now with him out in the world, and it takes time, but you need to.
While you're still in this whole new space of, okay, our life is so different, we have such different fears, different priorities, everything, that if you have a fight, it shouldn't ever be put on the table, this relationship, this marriage is over, or I'm out, or both of us, we no matter how bad things get, we both always say, even in the heat of the moment, that we want this. If you're going to threaten to leave each other, one of you does, or both of you, every time there's a fight, you can't go on.
That depends also on the personality of the partners. I have friends, they fight every day. They say awful things to each other. Like, if we said those things to each other, I would drive away. I don't know, but not I wouldn't, but I would say, okay, wow, something is wrong, really wrong.
Yeah.
Instead, they just
that's true. That's right.
We are similar on this point of view. If someone says something bad, that's something that stays there. It's not something you just wash away with a laugh. So
yeah.
I believe that in this we are similar, and it's a very good thing to understand. You can't repress too much. If you're angry to me, you should be able to say it or even shout it out.
Yeah.
I should be able to accept that and even shout back, but then be able to fix the.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of attitude to conflict and stuff like that.
And it's a bit of a cliche, but I think women and men to approach conflict with the awareness that males will often want to fix something, and a female often just wants to be heard and just wants to vent what she's experiencing, the pain she's experiencing, the exhaustion or something, and she doesn't need the man to be the hero who saves everything and fixes everything, but she does need him to be present and to say, tell me about your day, tell me about this horrible thing.
Okay, I'll do this to fix it.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but you're coming from a good place because you want to help me, and that's your way of thinking that you can help the situation is, okay, what has to change? We'll get this, we'll go do this, we'll get...
I want to remove the problem.
Yeah, remove the problem. Yeah, exactly. But I think for so many women, or maybe this is just partners in general, often people just want someone to say, to talk to, and to be able to have the right to be able to express that they're feeling a bit sad or a bit drained or something. Something that helps for me, like in that recent argument that we had, instead of saying you're this, you're that, which basically is futile, because if I criticize you, even if it's justified,
you can't get out of a fight if you criticize the person.
You may have deserved it at the moment, but actually it doesn't serve me at all, because you won't listen, you'll get defensive. But you think I said, I just feel so alone, I feel so sad. And then instantly you soften and you were so compassionate, and because I wasn't criticizing you, I was just saying how this...
now I remember why.
how this situation was making me feel, and I think that's something that, I mean, not that we're not experts at all, but I think if it's helpful,
we are not good fighters.
You don't think so?
At least on my side, I always try to fix it on my own, and sometimes that builds up a bit too much, and then comes out in the wrong way.
Yeah.
It could be done. It could be prevented by just communicating since the beginning of the...
Yeah, well, actually, that's something you do. Yeah, you hold on to it. Hold on to it, but thinking... I think your intentions are good, because your thought is, if I don't say anything, I'm being kinder. But actually, if you stomp around in a bad mood and not say anything, you still... If your partner loves you and is aware of you, then...
Si dice in italiano, ingoiare il rospo.
Swallow the toad, yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you can do it. So not always one has to vent everything.
Yeah, no, that's true. No, sometimes you can. Yeah, we call it like,
you can swallow.
We can call it biting your tongue. If you bite your tongue and you say, "Do I really have to bring negativity to this situation now? Is it that important, or can I just let this go?" Like, I think that I often think that, because I often don't want there to be sort of any tension around the baby, so I will try to say, okay, I'm not going to bring this up, or I'm not going to make a big deal of this, you know.
What are you hiding?
Yeah. Well,
you're so cheerful.
No, I know.
You're planning your...
No, but you know, I mean, it's been really tough, and I think it is tougher, much tougher on the woman, because it's so, especially if you're working, but even if you're not working, I mean, your life in many aspects has remained the same, you know, and I know that it's changed. For you, it's changed a lot, but if you compare that...
No, obviously, if I look at you, my life is different, obviously, especially on sleeping and logistics, but I'm the same person.
Yeah.
Obviously, for you, it changed more. So,
and then I think it's not. I mean, this is not even on you. It's sort of also society. It's like it's just expected that the woman will be the one who takes care of the child, even if it's something like getting him to sleep or burping him. Or sometimes that weight can feel like quite a burden, even though it's something that you've wanted. If for many females, it's something you've wanted your whole life, or something that you cherish and you think, gosh, I'm so lucky to be doing this. So it still seems to be so hard, and not just in Italy, but
in Italy, it's completely assumed that women do everything.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough. But I hear different stories. There's people that literally don't do anything.
Yeah.
And eventually the couple breaks up.
Yeah.
Mainly for this reason.
Yeah.
There are others that do, but then anyway, the wife, after years, the mother or wife or whatever, is so resentful from being left in charge of everything, they break up.
Yeah.
And then, no, there are other friends that are very, very good and definitely better than me.
Oh, can you just check that I'm in focus?
Amore, io sono il primo a rendermi conto che sono cresciuto in un ambiente maschilista e per quanto ci provi, e sono cioè, I know that I'm not good enough.
No, amore.
But supporting women is, I think, the best way to be is accepting differences, but not in preconceived roles, but in nelle caratteristiche innate del genere. Non so, ora dirò una cosa sbagliatissima, però I will probably am saying something super wrong and you will cut me. But what I mean is the best way of respecting someone is accepting that person for needs, qualities, and lesser qualities.
I don't know. I would say that like it's an evolution, and the error could be to say, okay, that's how this person is, and that's it. And that's why I think a lot of times people give up on a relationship, because they think, well, this is how I am. I believe people can shift. They don't change dramatically, but I think they can shift given if they have a good incentive, like a child, or the prospect of losing love or losing someone important.
They can change superficial characteristics.
But for example, with you, I know that in the beginning, well, for a large part of this 6 months, I haven't felt totally understood by you, because I was like, gosh, he doesn't get how hard this is for me. But I've seen you get better, and now I've seen you, compared to how you were 3 months ago, you're so much better.
That's what I'm saying.
And so I do think that sometimes, instead of just despairing and thinking, this person is not caring about me, sometimes they just need time to move and learn how to get into the role. But you need to have signs from that person that they're...
The principle is that before you go in relationships, you married, and then if something went wrong, it's not the first option, oh, I'll leave. The first option, the second, the third, the fourth, the 10th, the 20th is to try to fix things. Now, the first thing one thinks or says or whatever, oh, goodbye, I'll change.
Yeah.
Not with marriage, but marriage is not this strong institution nowadays, but obviously in relationships and all the rest. If something doesn't work, one has just so many other options and just changes and goes to the next one. But that then keeps relationships always on a surface level.
Sure.
If you manage to crack the surface, then you need to go and fix the deeper levels.
But you do need a precedent so that you can believe that it's plausible that person is going to change, that they have a desire to change. Because I think if you just have someone always saying, oh no, I'm so sorry, I'll do better next time, or I'll try, and then the next time it happens again and again, if there's patterns and you just think, gosh, there's no evidence that this is changing, that could you could feel really defeated. And
there are certain things that probably one has to insist and expect that the other person understands or at least tries to change, and then there are other things that you think that the other person should change, instead it's you that should accept.
Sure.
Sometimes you are like, oh, you're sort of così critico, so critical, sorry.
Yeah.
And obviously I listen because, and one says, okay, fine. So is it the outside world, therefore you in the situation, that is doing something wrong? Or is it me that I'm expecting something wrong? Or at least it's fine to accept, also if it's not compatible with my preconceived expectation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think for me...
I'll interrupt you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So one thing is accepting. So one thing is sopportare, come si dice?
So yeah, tolerating.
One thing is tolerating, and another thing is accepting. Two different things. So on inwards, one has to not tolerate, because tolerating will then bring up to a build-up of resentment, and that then will explode in a super fight.
Yeah.
One has to understand acceptance.
Yeah.
That, I suppose, is the baseline of love, is accepting.
I think it's all about communication. I think communication, if you can,
it's easier to accept if you understand what is the true emotion of the other.
Yeah, and if you can empathize and put yourself in that person's position and say, okay, what's their fear here? What's their greatest fear? Is their fear that they're alone? And in which case your partner, most of the time, I would hope most partners would say, gosh, I don't want you to feel alone. This is,
but then if the partner may hear or perceive,
I failed.
She's saying that I'm making her feel alone, despite whatever I'm doing. I'm doing all this, and she feels alone. Not grateful. Blah blah blah. This is the trick.
Yeah.
But both parties often are coming from a legitimate emotion or a legitimate expectation or a legitimate effort, and the result is dog and cat.
Well, I think the perhaps one approach could be to give your partner that time, and it's sometimes it's your time and sometimes it's their time. So, for example, when it's your time and you express what hurts you or you're troubled about or stressing about, and instead of making it about me and saying, oh gosh, but I've been doing all this, just I hear you and I say, wow, that's tough, or tell me more about that, or why do you think that is, or how do you think we could make this better, and not bring into, but how does this relate to me? Do you know what I mean? Because I think we're all quite sort of egocentric, and we all, as soon as someone complains, even if it's not about you, if they just say, oh, I'm sad or I'm feeling down, a lot of the time we make it about us and say, oh, are you saying I failed? Are you saying I'm not enough? And that's wrong, because sometimes
one way is stopping a moment, say, okay, it's not me, just pretend to look at from above and say, okay, really, is it worth?
It's not possible to address both parties' pain at the same time, and I think that's probably the mistake that in some relationships one can make, is saying, I feel this. Oh, well, what are you saying that says about me? As opposed to just saying, I feel this. Okay, let's deal with that. Let's look at that, and then at another moment you express your own pain, but not have it be a tit for tat thing, sort of like, I feel this. Well, I feel this too, and, then because then no one's going to feel validated. No one's going to feel heard.
Definitely, that's the one part of the equation. But probably the solution is in finding common goals. So
well, I think that goes without saying. Like we always know, for example, we never want to even raise our voices around the baby, because he can't perceive. All he can perceive is a change in tone. So
sometimes I called you not in an aggressive way, just in a loud voice, because you were far away and he got upset. No, it wasn't aggressive. It wasn't.
No, he was just shouting. Guido was just shouting at me because he was in another room, and I think, and we even tried, if we're talking about something that it's getting heated, I'll even try singing the things and saying, I'm just a little bit impatient because of this, so that he doesn't pick up on it. But I think once he can actually understand the words we're saying, then, oh gosh, it's
then you're screwed.
Yeah, then it's a whole new thing. I can't just break into song and sing.
Are children being raised to be spoiled these days?
My mother was English, so I had very strict set of rules.
Yeah, me too. I've spent a lot of time speaking with your mother, and she seems to have, strangely, the same approach that my mother had, that we, for example, I look now at I have so many friends who say, oh, you wait, it's impossible. And I wonder if children are getting worse, because my mother and your mother, they both said that, for example, we never had tantrums out in public ever.
I probably had them later. At
18?
Yeah. No, worse. Later.
But I think it's...
Eventually it always comes out.
And well, my mother said she can't believe. I mean, she goes around and sees children just out in public and can't believe what's. And it sounds very judgmental, but I suppose it's just genuine disbelief, because she had a different way of disciplining children, and I don't even know how she did it. In fact, I worry that I probably will say, gosh, help me do what you did with us, because I don't understand.
As soon as they come back?
Yeah. I don't understand how she managed to work and have 2 children. I had a lot of troubles that I had to even, so much reflux that I had to go to hospital for, and she somehow didn't, I don't know, and your mother as well. I mean, your mother said you were a joy. She said it was just...
But I believe that was independent from the caretaker. It depends.
Oh, it was just...
No, but there are some children that just are simpler to deal with.
Yeah, that's true.
One should try. Let's do another child and see what happens.
Yeah. That might be another question. Are we thinking of having another child? Yes.
Why not? If we haven't.
No.
We're already dancing. Let's.
I think it's something that we both want, and we want it mainly for Gianfranco. I think it's like the best gift we could possibly give him. No, is a sibling.
What do you believe are the most important characteristics to offer as a father?
Being present.
Yeah.
And not grumpy.
Yeah.
Calm presence.
Calm presence, yes.
Not comforting.
Not comforting.
Solid, though, like that gives you that.
Yeah.
Safe, calming presence.
And the most important as a mother?
Whatever you do is fine. If you can name it. It's. I don't know. Whatever a mother is able to do, it's amazing. So
the innocence of childhood is such a beautiful and precious and sacred time, and it seems like there's so much to grapple with once you hit adolescence and then go into young adulthood, that I think if you could create as much possibility for a child to experience that whimsy and that innocence and that carefree wonderland of childhood as much as possible, I think that's something that I want to cultivate and focus on, is just allowing the child to use their imagination and run wild and be free and have wonderful moments with family that I had. I remember just so many adventures with my parents, and I think that a lot of that was because of my mother orchestrating these beautiful.
There you go. It's the mother.
Yeah, but my father was there.
Game,
yeah, he was there. I mean, she may have orchestrated it, but then he was there, completely present with us, and I think that was so precious. You carry it with you into adulthood. It seems trivial, like or saccharine even, like to have like the innocence of childhood, but I think by having that, it grounds you and gives you this such stability that then you go into adolescence or adulthood feeling more resilient, actually. And so it's I feel like it's almost feels paradoxical, because by having this soft, lovely, safe environment for fantasy, then you go into adulthood thinking, well, at least I know I did, thinking, feel very independent. And I think it's to do a lot with attachment styles. I mean, if you if you have a healthy attachment to your primary caregiver, I mean, I remember just going off into the world and not feeling scared, feeling very independent, excited, speaking to my parents every day, excited to tell them things, but eagerly wanting to go out into the world without feeling like I needed their presence by my side, if that makes sense. So hopefully we can give that to Gianfranco and anyone else who comes after him.
Probably it's connected to the fact that you didn't need to. You felt loved anyway.
Yeah.
So if a kid doesn't feel loved, doesn't feel loved, then starts wondering, is it my fault? Should I do something more?
Yeah.
And therefore, many times, at least, it might happen that parents are not there, not because they don't love their kids, but they have to work, they get divorced or whatever.
Yeah.
And the kid doesn't feel the love of the parents and starts wondering, and it's his or her fault.
It's so hard to put someone out into the world and make sure that they can be themselves without feeling judged, without being mollycoddled, without also, just having that being that parent that is just wrapping them in cotton wool and not having them be ready for reality.
What do you think about sleep training?
I have read so much on this topic, so much you wouldn't believe, and my mother has read so many books, and not just not just books. Also, I've researched like white papers. I've looked at studies and were they able to replicate the results, and it's fascinating to me because it seems like a very polarizing subject. I didn't realize that people got so irate over being in the two schools of whether you leave a child to cry it out or whether you pick a child up every second, but then they're not sleeping. And I don't know what to think actually, because there's so much. There are studies to support both sides. I mean, there's things that I've read that say that actually they did some tests, and after sleep training and the child sleeping through the night, they tested the cortisol levels of the stress levels of the child and the mother was less stressed because the child has slept through the night and she's thinking everything's better. The child's stress levels were still really high. There is a gentle method which is more about being present so that child always knows the caregiver is by their side and they never feel abandoned, they never feel alone. So you're either with your voice or with your touch, but you're not actually picking them up out of the crib, or you're not nursing them, or you're not giving them the bottle, so that they're not in the bad habit. But then there are those who say, is that such a bad habit? Because if that child wants to be nursed, then maybe they're hungry, or maybe they need it because they've got pain, and maybe they're just breastfeeding because they need that comfort in that moment, and why not give it to them? I am certain that all of you have many opinions on this, and yeah, I'd be curious to hear if anyone has read any studies, because that's what I'm particularly interested in. Everyone can have their instincts and say, no, this feels wrong or this feels right. It can feel wrong for many people to just live like a complete zombie and be so sleep deprived. And then, a mother who has slept could probably be a much better mother. So probably both approaches or all approaches have merit in some regard. It's what you think you can what you think you can handle, or what you think feels the best for your child. I'm still unsure of how to master sort of getting him to sleep through the night. I think 6 months or 6.5 months is still very young, and I don't want to rush him into just leaving him alone. But gosh, there is so much out there on this topic on sleep training, and I heard from a couple of sleep consultants because my mother, in her desperation to help me, because she said, you can't go on like this. This is insane. Like you haven't slept. And it's not sustainable. You can't keep going beyond 6 months. But when I heard these sleep consultants, I mean, some of them, I just wondered how, if you train a dog by kicking it, it will stop doing whatever you didn't want it to do. But is that necessarily the best way? But then equally, sometimes when you see with dogs that are beautifully trained, they have a better life because they're not confused by mixed messages. And I think that's the thing too, is if a child's always picked up, then they're not learning how to self-soothe. But then there are those who say, oh, but can, in fact, a child psychologically, can the brain of a 4 or 5 month old even comprehend what it means to self-soothe? I read a study recently that said no, that's not possible. So it's a mystery, and it truly is a mystery, because they can't do any tests on the brain for a child, because they can't literally get the baby to sit still. And I don't think there is anyone who can speak with any true authority on what is the best way, because scientifically, I guess it also depends too if your baby is in actual pain. So are you dealing with bad habits, or are you dealing with a baby who's trying to communicate to you that they are, that there's something wrong, they've got a fever, or in our case that he had these digestive issues.
How much longer will you continue breastfeeding, and have you started him on solids?
I think they say that they need the nutrients in mother's milk for at least a year. So I would like to continue for at least a year. Although I have started purees, and I am just absolutely loving cooking for Gianfranco. It's such a pleasure. I have been preparing these wonderful little meals, just sort of roasting vegetables and chicken and fish and just making delicious little breakfast for him. And I can't tell you how satisfying it is for me, because there's such little portions, so it's very easy to cook. And I want to make everything homemade, because I did listen to this podcast that was with a professional who was saying that in the food that they sell in the supermarkets for babies is made at such a high heat that it takes out all the nutrients, and it puts in some things which are just not good for a child. They're not bad, they're not going to hurt the child terribly, but I think if I have the possibility to cook with fresh produce that we've grown here, and I can really know everything that's going in, and I can cook it in a way that doesn't remove as much of the nutrients, then I will want to do that, obviously. And it's so, oh my gosh, it's so satisfying to see him. He eats so much. And so this is what leads me to believe, okay, maybe I'm not crazy, and with him breastfeeding every 2 hours, maybe he just has a huge appetite. He eats a quantity I can't tell you that doesn't seem normal for a child. I mean, he eats 3 times a day, and plus breastfeeding every 2 hours, and he is so excited by food, which makes sense if he's our child, because we both have such an enthusiasm for food, let's say, but it's so cute. He just like gulps it all down, and I try to go slower so that he's digesting well, but he loves it. So yeah, I would wish I could share that with you, because it's just the cutest thing to see this child experience everything for the first time. I prepared so many different things, even our artichokes, and he loves all of it. The spinach, freshly grown spinach and artichokes, and freshly grown celery. It's so wonderful to think this is a lovely, healthy little creature, and I can start him off with some really healthy habits and get his body just filled with really nourishing foods, and not have these, I mean, a lot of initially, everyone's saying to me, have these biscuits that you just crush up but you read the ingredients on them and they're full of sugar, and I just think, is there any need for a baby to have that refined sugar straight away? There's a lovely natural sugar in poached pears, or in in banana, or any of these things that carrots even. So for me it just seems very, very simple to prepare things at home. But if you're someone who is exhausted and you're desperate, or not even desperate, if you just cannot deal with the headache of also thinking of how to cook for a child, then I completely understand. I'm not here saying everyone should be providing home cooked meals for a baby. This is just something that, for me, I really love it, and it's been a very pleasurable part of this whole experience. Probably because I just love food so much, and I suppose it's like, you can't wait to share one of your passions with your child, and you might have another passion. You might love, I don't know, some kind of sport, or you might love something that you just can't wait to teach your child. So for me, it's definitely food, and it gives me so much joy to see he tried something that I made for him for breakfast. I actually do a little bit of quinoa in coconut milk for fat, so quinoa for some protein and some carbohydrates, some coconut milk for fat and calories, and then some blueberries for nutrients, and then some poached pear as well, just to keep everything regular, and I just sort of whizzed that up into a puree, and he ate it, and he actually laughed at how he was so excited about it. He was like, oh, just to say, well, I think he was saying that it was so delicious, and so he wanted to put his whole face into the bowl. We are waiting to get, in terms of baby-led weaning, I've been looking at that as well, and I think I want to do just a mix of baby-led weaning and purees, and I'm just waiting to get a chair. I haven't got a high chair yet, so I think until we get that, I can't really have him hold bits of food for himself yet, but I'm excited to see how that goes.
Why don't you show your child's face on camera?
Many people have asked this question about us not showing Gianfranco. I have to say, I look at a lot of content that is on YouTube with other families, and I see their child growing, even literally from birth, and I love it. I find it really informative. It helps me. It makes me feel less alone. I think, oh, it's so cute, like watching their child eat for the first time, and I think how beautiful that family. So I don't feel that all parents who show their children are trying to show off or make money out of their child or whatever. But for us, we decided that you can go on.
I don't know. It's a very difficult subject, and it's such an unknown field.
Yeah.
And exposing a child to something that is a wonderful instrument like internet and social media and everything, but it can be also so very vicious and nasty and everything that I love to share his face with friends and everything, and I believe that your true community is
they're like friends or relatives.
Friends, but images and whatever comes with them can just flow everywhere, and then there's so much hate also that I don't want to expose him to anything that's like that. I feel sorry for your true fans that they would deserve to see him, because they've been with you all your journey. I just came in now lately, and there's this new entry, and I really feel that they are like
And so many
like
people,
an old cousin, like a cousin or whatever.
yeah. And so many of you've written to me and you've prayed for us, and like when I was during my pregnancy, and I would so love to share. There's so many moments, and he's so damn cute. If you could see him, he's just so. It's so. A lot of the time too, there's nothing. It lifts your mood. You hear this little child, like his laughter, and to see his little face. He's got the most beautiful little face. But we're not trying to tease you or anything else. The fact is that he's in our lives every hour of every day. Like he's in my life and attached to me so often when I'm filming. Like often I'll be filming something to you and I'll be talking to camera, but I have my hand, like my little finger in his mouth and he's sucking on it, or I'll be breastfeeding and he'll be off camera, out of the frame. So it would feel wrong to me to not show just the back of him, or to the presence of him, because to pretend like I'm cooking and I'm doing renovating and I'm doing all these things, running around in the garden without him, would feel like a fiction, because it's not the truth.
He's there.
He's always on me. Even
He's always there.
always there. Yeah. And I'm like, he's in the marsupial, in the carrier when I'm cooking or when I'm filming, and so I want to show little pieces of him just as the reminder that this is what our life is. And I think people would then be writing, if they didn't see pieces of him, where's the child? What's she, so it would be more work for me to make it appear as though he wasn't in the frame. That's to say. And then also, I love having these memories, even if we don't have his face on camera. I love having little pieces of him in, because it's a beautiful memory for us. And without compromising his privacy, I could have so many more views, and it would be so
easy.
And it'd be so easy just to have his little squashy, gorgeous face in the thumbnail. You feel like family, but then it's frustrating, because then it's like, oh, but it's not just us, is it?
You're putting in the world.
We feel like you're all here in the living room with us, and yet I always forget that. Hang on, it's actually in a public space, and it feels so intimate because we have this lovely community and you're all so kind. But I have to think about if he was 10 years old and he's going to school, and kids bullying and everything. Kids are going to get bullied, I think, inevitably, but I don't want to give them put any more fuel on the fire by having his face and all these moments of his life.
Seen his thighs at 6 months, I think.
Oh.
No one can bully him. Maybe psychologically, but not physically. But
he's going to be strong. Especially when, I think when you're an adolescent, it's such an awkward time, and it's so hard to make sense of one's body, whether you're male or female, and everything, and find your own identity. And then if you've got complete strangers, or the kids in your class can access all these moments from your childhood where you've been on camera and you haven't even known you're being filmed. And then the other thing I don't like is I don't want to be behind the camera sort of trying to coax out this cute moment from him. I just want to be present with him. If I'm feeding him, if I'm, laughing with him, I just want to be there with him. Consequently, actually, I don't have a lot of photos of him, but I don't want to be trying to film his cutest moments. I just want to be present and in him, and I don't want him to be aware of a camera. It's a natural thing to want to document a child. You're so excited by them. It's also about consent, and I think a child, they can't even know what they're getting into. I mean, they might be fine and excited about being on camera with mama and cooking with me, and that would be all fine. But then he might hit 14 and say, gosh, I wish I hadn't done that. And I wouldn't want him to have that.
Or then just grow up assuming that maybe he becomes sort of, let's say, not famous, I don't know how you say, but known.
Yeah.
Through something that he hasn't even tried to deserve. I don't know.
And no, you're right. That's the other thing. I wouldn't want him to imagine if he got to the point where he could see that there were comments or likes, or he heard us reading out the comments. And imagine he says something and then he hears that lots of people responded to that. I wouldn't want him to start learning that his validation comes through people's
Correct,
comments
correct.
or likes.
Both bad or good.
Yeah, because if he's like,
He has to grow up his way.
if we say, oh, look at this episode where he's has his gorgeous smile and everyone says, oh, he's so cute, and there's 500 comments of him saying he's so cute. I don't think that's healthy either, because it's not natural. It's fine for his grandmother and maybe someone in the village who sees him to be like, ah, che bello. But that's like 5 people. It's not 5,000 people. And I don't think it's healthy to have that kind of appraisal, whether it's positive or negative, in that greater quantity, because it's not natural. We shouldn't have that in a normal childhood, don't you think?
No judgment, it's a tough call.
Yeah.
Come si dice, a cuci palloni, come fanno in Asia. Sorry, this is very bad. It's a joke, I'm ironic, but it's really exploiting child's work, labor.
Child labor, yeah.
And he's not even able, not even.
But it's hard, because I can understand a lot of parents. They're not thinking of it as child labor. They're thinking this is a beautiful moment with a family, and if they have a tripod in the corner, they're present with the child. They're capturing a beautiful moment. Yeah, that's all.
So if we arrive at 400,000 next week, we will show you.
Oh my god!
Now let's say 5,000. Right? One thing is acknowledging in your video his presence, and another thing is slapping him, and that would be very easy and very easily successful. Yeah. Because he's so cute.
He's so cute.
He's so cute.
Madonna. Technology, we have no idea really where it's going to be in 15 years time.
He maybe one day gets a phone and he's 7, he just started to know how to read, and reads a comment about a video on him saying, oh, what a ridiculous haircut. That would be sufficient.
Yeah.
Oh, then you go from there to the older scale, from white to black, of what could be said of bad and offensive and diminishing. And why? He will have to fight with 2 or 3 kids at school, and that's fine. That's part of the... he will cry, he will fight back. But one thing is facing someone and being able to say, oh, stop bullying me. Another thing is having an unknown mechanism that is just diminishing you publicly. And in a way that you can't fight. So
and on such a scale, I think as soon as you get to the audience numbers that I have.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
It's okay.
With you, it's even okay if you're in a small school in a country village, whatever. That social media pond will be 100 people. It's already too much. Too many. But it's sort of a village. But in your case, he comes out with a wrong phrase. Then he gets hated by 100,000 people. That's not. Adults can't handle that. How can a teenager handle that?
No, absolutely not.
One tries and then see how it goes. And as it's.
Yeah, and you see if it's working out for you in your life, but
maybe in 2 years, what a stupid idea. We put it in front of the camera.
We're like,
dance, little Gianfranco, dance for the world.
Come on, Mom is tired. You go out and make the money.
No, man. So whatever one does or says, obviously, without if you offend or exaggerate or whatever, but if. One is in the gray zone where you don't know. We're not saying, oh, it's completely wrong that way. We are right.
No, we're just a work in progress and just trying to fumble our way through and make some decisions. And oh, by the way, we should say people went a bit crazy on the fence. We're getting a fence for the pool. Don't worry. That's always in the cards. We're just
security of the pool obviously is a priority.
So everyone was.
Nothing will be left.
And thank you. I mean, I know all of you are just looking out for us and wanting to share. But I understand, and Guido understands. We all definitely understand the dangers of water. Even when you have a fence, obviously it's a danger. But goodness, I grew up in a part of Australia where adults and children are dying in the surf because it's so dangerous. I mean, you literally go for a swim in the sea and you take your life in your hands. And I used to go every weekend to Nipper to train as a Nipper, which is basically like training to become a lifeguard. So I know how easy it can be to lose sight of a child for a second, and they get into trouble. And I don't want to trivialize that at all. That's all. Also, there are some people who might say that you don't appreciate that I am working and not sleeping and taking care of our child and cooking and all these things. You do appreciate
What
it.
do you mean? Obviously, I appreciate. And I'm sure that if I'm doing 150 that I think I'm doing out of 100, you are doing 300. So not in scale, obviously, but much more that. First of all, it's such a tiring job. Babysitting, teaching, it drains so much energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they are the least paid jobs.
Yeah.
And so our society hasn't got space for children. Teachers and babysitters should be the most important figures in the world because...
And mothers.
Yeah, obviously.
You mean babysitters in terms of the caregiver?
Yes. Yeah, I was babysitting in that case.
I see.
I mean it in that way, sorry.
Yeah.
And then you realize, wow, this is really full-time.
Yeah.
All the jobs that we do are so much easier.
Yeah.
Keeping him happy and not screaming, clear, that's so much more difficult. Whatever. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening to this long diatribe. I'm sorry we're not as coherent as we could be, but it was a rough.
I believe that
it's been a rough 2 weeks. Thank you very much. Thank you, and we'll see you alla prossima.
Alla prossima, che non si sa quando è, però va bene. Dipende se dormiamo. Soprattutto dipende se dorme lei.
Sì. Ciao.